Okay. Our next speaker is Jeremy Beck. Jeremy Beck trained as an engineer here in Melbourne, so he has a passion for things engineering, things civil. He worked for Kodak for a while. Mechanical, sorry. Worked for Kodak for a while until it got digitised. That was the end of that. But that was back in 2000, and Jeremy's been with us ever since. He works as part of our support team, which calls up institutions and academics and so forth, with Anne Lawler and with Richard here and myself, Gabby, Robbie, and so forth. So Jeremy's been following with great interest the developments within China. So he's going to bring to us this afternoon the final presentation, which is China, Great Infrastructure Projects at Home and Abroad. So welcome, Jeremy. Thank you.
China's economy has amazed the world in the last decade or so, and this enormous economic growth, we can continue to see that to grow much, much more. And I'll explain that in this presentation. There's so much to cover, but I'll focus in on transport, water and power infrastructure. For transport, I'll concentrate on the rail. For power, on nuclear power. In particular, nuclear power will be key for China's continued economic growth. And I think from the previous presentations, it's been pretty clear that the investment and the banking arrangements with the BRICS nations are a real threat to the Anglo-American empire. And I think with the developments with the AIIB, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, I think it'll be pretty clear after you've seen this presentation I'm about to give why the oligarchy is so terrified by the intention of China and where those infrastructure projects will be built and how they will be financed. Next slide. This is China's high-speed maglev train. China is the only country in the world that has a commercially operating maglev train. It's the Shanghai maglev train. It began operation in 2004. It travels from Pudong Airport in Shanghai. It does 431 kilometres an hour. It has been tested at 501 kilometres an hour, so it's the fastest train in China in commercial operation. It's only short track. It's only 30 kilometres long. But anyone who goes to Shanghai, who goes from the international airport, will go on it, obviously. Maglev has an advantage of a smoother ride. There's no physical contact, as such as a steel wheel on steel rail train, so it literally hovers above the track. No rolling resistance, so it's much quieter. China is building a maglev train in Beijing. It's forecast to open in November or December this year. This particular train in Beijing won't be so fast because it's based in the city and there's a lot of stations that are very close together and there's no distance to build up the speed. So the one in Beijing that's due to open this year will do probably no more than 100 kilometres an hour, but it'll be much quieter in a city area. Next slide. You see a picture here of a vacuum maglev test facility. A maglev train's speed in open air is limited by air resistance. Aeroplanes fly at much higher levels where the atmosphere is thin, and consequently there's less air to push through. But a train travelling at ground level, there's much more air resistance. There's also a sonic boom issue. If you travel above the speed of sound, you'll get enormous noise. So it'd be unthinkable to try and run a train past the speed of sound. Speed of sound is around about 1,236 kilometres an hour. So to address these problems, Chinese researchers, they have the world's most advanced facility for vacuum maglev. The picture here you see is a tube where the air is sucked out, and they've got a little test train that runs around and round. The particular train here, it's at Southwest Jiaotong University in China, and it has a potential to reach a speed of 2,900 kilometres an hour, this particular one. This particular one doesn't do that speed because of the diameter of the tube. You won't reach those speeds unless you have a long straight tube. But if you did build a tube long enough, you will be able to reach those high speeds, thousands of kilometres an hour. Next slide. Most of China's high-speed trains use steel wheel on steel rail technology. Here we can see a couple of trains there, typical trains that you see all over China nowadays. This rail patronage in China has grown from 128 million trips in 2008 to 672 million trips in 2013. And over 2.9 billion passengers have taken a high-speed train trip between April 2007 and the 1st of October 2014. Next slide. Here we have the world's fastest train. This is the CIT 500. It was tested at 605 kilometres an hour. It's not in commercial operation, but it did reach that speed, and it did it for about 100 kilometres length of track. The steel wheel and steel rail train will be quite noisy at those sorts of speeds, but it can be done. A maglev will be much better, but the Chinese at this stage have chosen to roll out steel wheel and steel rail tracks just because it's known technology. Maglev will no doubt happen in the future. Most of the Chinese trains in the under commercial operation travel at 350 kilometres an hour. So this was 605 kilometres an hour, but 350 kilometres an hour is still much faster than we have here in Australia. Next slide. Here I downloaded this map off a Chinese website. It's the latest map that they have of their high-speed train network. At the moment, they have 16,000 kilometres of high-speed train network in the whole country. That's more than 60% of the global total. By 2020, China is forecast to have 24,000 kilometres of high-speed rail. And it certainly won't stop then. In this year alone, China's spent 800 billion yuan, that's $128 billion in building railway tracks, and no doubt they'll continue much, much more expenditure. Next slide. This is the proposed Beijing to Moscow railway. This is a proposed 7,000 kilometre high-speed rail link from Beijing to Moscow at a cost of 1.5 trillion yuan, which is $242 billion, with a proposed maximum speed of 400 kilometres an hour. It's a very fast train, and it would cut the Beijing-Moscow journey time from 5 days down to 33 hours. It's a massive project, obviously. It was announced in October last year, and discussions are underway to confirm the exact route. It could travel through Kazakhstan, which I'm sure the Kazakhstan government would welcome, but alternatively, there's another proposal to go just to the north of Kazakhstan. There's a number of different proposals, but one's through the Russian Altai Republic and just to the north of Kazakhstan. But in any case, it would be expected to take 8 to 10 years to build, much quicker than the 50 years of Julie Gillard's proposal. Next. This is Narendra Modi's Diamond Quadrilateral proposal. China and India are negotiating a $33 billion high-speed rail scheme, the first major improvement in the rail system in India since the British built the railway system in the 19th century. The proposed Delhi-Chennai high-speed rail corridor will traverse close to 2,000 kilometres from the northern capital Delhi to the southeastern city of Chennai. And that project is the first one of several crisscrossing the nation, as you can see, the quadrilateral shape. You can see the cities there, Delhi up the north, Chennai down the south, Mumbai over in the west, Kolkata in the east, and rail links are proposed right across the whole nation. It will be an enormous undertaking and a benefit for both China, who will be helping India build the rails, and of course India itself. Next slide. China is building a Mombasa-Nairobi Railway in Kenya that will be extended to 5 countries at a total cost of $13.8 billion. The first phase of the standard rail gauge will cover 309.3 kilometres from the port of Mombasa to Nairobi and will cost $3.6 billion. 90% of the financing will come from the Export-Import Bank of China, while Kenya will cover the remaining 10%. At least 30,000 Kenyans are expected to be employed in the project. And as you can see in the picture there, construction is underway. Next slide. That's the same project, the extended version of it. You can see the Mombasa-Nairobi section there just in the east of the country, but all the extended rail proposals. The 5 countries there, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So it's a proposed railway link much, much bigger than anything we've seen in Africa before. Next. This is the Abuja-Kaduna Railway project in Nigeria. Now moving to West Africa, that's West Africa. The construction of this rail link, it's 186.5 kilometres from Abuja to Kaduna. It began in 2011. It cost $850 million and was complete as of early this year. There are 37 overpass bridges, 9 stations along the way, and it was executed by the Chinese rail construction giant China Railway Construction Corporation. I now want to play a short 1-minute video just to give you a sense of the excitement that this project has just recently opened.
This indeed signifies the final track laying for the 186.5 kilometer Abuja-Kaduna standard gauge line, the first of its kind not only in Nigeria but West Africa. The project, which commenced in July 2013, crisscrossing towns and villages, hills and valleys cutting through rocks, as well as rivers and streams, covers 31 rail bridges, 37 overpass bridges, 206 culverts, and 9 stations. The people of Rigasa are already excited.
You can live in Kaduna and then perform your work in Abuja and then come back the same day.
Some youth will get to work of loading.
Different people are going to open their businesses around this area.
You have to give thanks to Almighty God for making it possible.
So they're very excited, obviously. And Nigeria has seen the benefit of this rail link, and they already have some massive plans for much more. So next slide. This is the plan. It's a whole nationwide network. This would be a $13 billion high-speed rail project, and it's going to be financed with the China's Export-Import Bank. The China Railway Construction Corporation is set to build 3,218 kilometres of network across the whole country, and it'll be a major boost to the economy, connecting to Lagos, Kano, these are the cities, Kano, Kaduna, Warri, Bauchi, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. The system will be digitally operated using fibre optic cables, radio communication, wireless services, all the latest technology. The entire network will take 25 years to build, but a lot of the lines will be completed much sooner. Certainly less than the 50 years, but some will be in just a few years' time. I think Nigeria would be taking over Australia in terms of rail development, the way they're going. Next slide. This, not anything at the moment. This one, moving to Thailand. The Thai government last year approved a $23 billion transport project that will see 2 high-speed railways link up directly with China, and that'll be done by 2021. At the moment, Thailand only has 250 kilometres of dual-track railway, next to nothing. China is looking to build a 3,000-kilometre high-speed line from Kunming all the way down to Singapore, passing through Laos, Thailand and Malaysia, a project that would increase China's GDP and those involved nations by $375 billion, as the former Chinese railway chairman told China Daily. Railway construction in Thailand will begin in September or October at the latest, and it will take around 2.5 years to complete, thanks to a $12 billion investment from China. No, not the Gillard model. Next. Now, I could keep talking about railway projects all day, but I think we're a bit short on time. So, and I just could not put this next project in. It's not rail, it's bridges and road. It's a road bridge. It's an impressive piece of infrastructure, the Jiaozhou Bay Connection Project. And you can see the photograph on the left and the map on the right. The project is a bridge and a tunnel system. The tunnel is just on the bottom right-hand corner, and the bridge is the longest sea bridge in the world. It's 26.7 kilometres long, of which 25.9 kilometres is over water. It's supported by 5,238 concrete piles. There are 8 lanes, and it costs 14.8 billion yuan, or $2.3 billion. Construction started in May 2007, took 4 years to build, and it employed at least 10,000 people. It officially opened on the 30th of June 2011 for traffic, and the tunnel opened at the same time as the bridge. Now, that photo you see there, you're only seeing a very small part of it. You're seeing the section where the bridge goes up to the north, and you're looking in an easterly direction. You're not seeing the biggest length of the bridge over the water, which moves all the way down to the southwest. So you don't get a full sense of the size, but it's a bit hard to see that far, nearly 30 kilometres. Massive project, and China would have that sort of vision. It'd be like going across Port Phillip Bay from St Kilda to Werribee. Okay, we're on the next. Three Gorges Dam. The Three Gorges Dam is probably the most well-known piece of infrastructure in China. It is massive. The dam is on the Yangtze River. The actual dam has a capacity of 39,300 gigalitres. This dwarfs Australia's biggest reservoirs. The biggest reservoir in Australia is the combined Lake Gordon, Lake Pedder Reservoir, and when you combine the two lakes, that has a capacity of 11,000 gigalitres. And Lake Argyle is the second biggest, and that capacity is 10,500 gigalitres. Well, the Three Gorges Dam, remember, is 39,300, so nearly 4 times the size. The Three Gorges Dam power plant, it's the biggest power plant in the entire world, a capacity of 22,500 megawatts. There's 32 turbines, each with a capacity of 700 megawatts. By comparison, Australia's biggest power station, Earring Power Station in New South Wales, fuelled by black coal, has a capacity of 2,880 megawatts. In China, there's 100 dams planned on the Yangtze or its tributaries, and China has more dams than the rest of the world combined. Also, the Three Gorges Dam helps with flood mitigation and has assisted shipping to keep the water levels up and stable. Next, that's just the Three Gorges Dam generating power. Next. This is the south to north water diversion project. Upon completion, it will be the greatest water project ever built in the world. The north of China is very dry and needs water. The south has got plenty of water. There's 3 sections to this. There's an eastern route, a central route, and a western route. Just as a comparison of water transfer, we've got the Snowy Mountain Scheme. On average, historically, the Snowy Mountain Scheme has transferred 2,300 gigalitres annually from the Murray River, or from the Snowy to the Murray and Murrumbidgee rivers. So that's 2,300 gigalitres. This south to north water diversion project will transfer 44,800 gigalitres. Big difference. Massive project, and it's well underway. The eastern and the central routes are nearly all complete. The western route's still in the planning phase. The construction of the eastern and middle routes began in December 2002 and December 2003, respectively. The middle route was actually completed in December 2013. Next. The Jinping-l Dam, tallest dam in the world. It's 305 metres tall. It impounds the Yalong River. China's now building an even taller dam. It's the, I don't know if I can pronounce this right, but it's the Zhangjiakou Dam, I think, and that's going to be 312 metres tall, even taller than this. Next. Now, I want to move to dam building worldwide, because China, of course, has more dams than the rest of the world combined, but at the same time, China is building a lot of the world's dams in numerous countries around the world. Chinese banks and companies are involved in some 330 dams in 74 countries, particularly in Africa and Southeast Asia. This diagram here, it's a little old. It's from 2012. A lot can happen in 2.5 years, the way China's going. But it illustrates the point. I got it from International Rivers. It's actually an anti-dam, Western-backed environmentalist organisation. They're hysterical about dam building, and I've used a lot of their material. It's actually quite useful. At least they've done something good. But they've documented just about every dam in the world that China's building. So next. This is the Kamchay Dam in Cambodia. I'm just looking at just a few specific dams that China's built overseas. We'd be here forever if I went through them all. But this particular one was opened in 2011. It was built with the help of the finance from the Export-Import Bank of China. It's 193 megawatts, the output. And according to estimates, Cambodia has 10,000 megawatts of hydroelectric power potential. So this particular one's 193 megawatts, and they have a potential of 10,000 megawatts. So there are plenty more dams that China's planning to build in Cambodia. Next. Here's a big one. This is Asia's largest dam outside of China, and it was opened in 2011. It's 205 metres high. It has 8 Francis-type turbines and provides a total of 2,400 megawatts of capacity. It was built with the help of the China state-owned Sino Hydro and the Export-Import Bank of China. Next. This is the Merowe Dam in Sudan. This particular one blocks off the whole Nile River. Construction started in 2004, and it opened on the 3rd of March 2009. The dam is 9 kilometres in length, very long dam, 67 metres high, and China National Water Resources and Hydropower Engineering Corporation and China International Water and Electric Corporation built the dam. The Export-Import Bank of China contributed €240 million to finance the dam, or help finance it. And the power station has a 1,250 megawatt capacity. Next. The Myitsone Dam is still to be completed. This would be the 15th largest hydroelectric power station in the world. The dam planned to be over a kilometre long, 1.31 kilometres long, 140 metres high, planned to have an electric generation capacity of 6,000 megawatts, which is huge. Just as a comparison, the Snowy Mountain scheme has 9 power stations. The combined output of the Snowy Mountain scheme power stations is 3,950 megawatts. Well, this one's planned to be 6,000 megawatts, a fair bit bigger, but it hasn't been built yet. The construction has been suspended at the moment. There's been an enormous campaign to stop the dam by Western-backed environmentalist organisations. Next. Now, as I said before, I could keep talking all day about all these projects. I can't go through them all, but here's just a list of the countries, the 70-odd countries around the world that China is building dams in. And I won't even read them all out. I think you get the picture. There's 330 dams that China's building worldwide. Next. This is maps that I got from International Rivers. And once again, they have done something useful. They provided some maps of where the dams are. A little bit old. This is a 2012 list of maps, and there's a few maps that we'll go through. But you'll get a sense of where China's building these dams. So these are the ones in Central Asia. Next. Some dams in the Southeast Asia. There's several along the Mekong River Basin. It's a major river basin for those who probably know the Mekong area. There's quite a lot in there, and there are even more planned since then. There's a couple in Borneo there. Next. They only had Africa split up into 2 sections, but I think you get the picture. There's a few in Africa happening. And next. There's quite a few in Central and South America as well. And next, even a couple in Eastern Europe. Next. Okay. Right, nuclear power. This is really essential for China and the world. And whether people like nuclear power or not, it's happening and will happen. And it's happening in a very fast rate of knots. Here we have a pie chart. I got the data from the official body of the World Nuclear Association, and this chart shows the reactors currently under construction. And this is all about China, but you'll see a few other countries in there, but in all of these, China's got the biggest slice of the pie. Here we've got 26 reactors that China is currently building. Russia's got 9 there. India's got 6. South Korea's got 5. It's the latest data. It's the data for February this year. So that's an enormous amount that China has already just under construction. Reactor construction time from 1992 to 2012 was 5.8 years. The minimum time was 4.3 years. Construction times are becoming shorter. The CPR 1000 takes just 52 months to build, and the smaller modular reactors just take 36 to 40 months. At the current pace of development, China will be the number one in nuclear power generation worldwide. At the moment, United States has 99 reactors. China doesn't have that number yet, but we'll go through, next slide. We'll go through this one and the next one after, you'll see later. But this particular one goes through the planned reactors. And the definition for planned reactors is approvals, funding or major commitment in place, mostly expected in operation in 8 to 10 years. So it's all locked down that they will happen. And the numbers are much bigger than the ones that are currently under construction. Remember, China had 26 currently under construction. They have 64 planned that will be up and running in 8 to 10 years. Still, once again, China's got the biggest chunk in the whole world. You go to Russia, 31, India, 22, Japan, 9, South Korea 8, Poland 6, the USA 5. Now remember, the USA currently has the most reactors in the world, 99, but at the rate that they're going, only building 5, China is going to overtake them very, very soon. And next, and I think this particular one really shows why, because this is proposed nuclear reactors. Now, the definition for proposed is specific program or site proposals. So there's specific proposals, but they don't have the finance in place, but most likely they will. The way the financing is happening with China's intention of growth, we can see that these will happen, or it's at least most of them. And as I say, the definition is specific program or site proposals, expected operation mostly within 15 years. And here the numbers are much bigger. China, 123 proposed nuclear reactors. 123. Now, at the moment, United States has 99. So with the ones that they currently have, plus the ones under construction, plus the planned ones, plus the proposed ones, China will really eclipse the US nuclear capability. And of course, notice the BRICS countries in there. India, Russia, and other BRICS in there as well. All BRICS countries are working with nuclear power. And China is building nuclear reactors overseas. So next. This is a picture of Argentine President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner on her 3-day visit to China in February this year. She signed 15 agreements with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, including an agreement to build 2 nuclear reactor power stations in Argentina. I think we heard a bit about that before, earlier on today. On her Twitter, she said that the 4th and the 5th nuclear plant require an investment of $5.8 billion and $7 billion respectively. Argentina already has 3 nuclear power stations that use German and Canadian technology, so now they're moving towards the Chinese technology. And there are a lot of developments with Chinese nuclear power stations happening worldwide. I won't go through them all, but Pakistan, Karachi Nuclear Power Complex was officially initiated in November 2013 and is China's largest energy investment in Pakistan. China is involved in at least 6 nuclear projects in Pakistan and is likely to export more to the country. And according to the Director General of the Nuclear Safety Institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Bulat Nigmatulin, I'm not sure if I pronounced his name right, forecasts China will win half of all contracts to construct nuclear power plants abroad in 10 years. Half. China will win half of all contracts to construct nuclear power plants abroad in 10 years. And that's just huge. China is ready to really take over the whole global market in building nuclear power stations, and countries are welcoming it because nuclear power will free up people's economies. And in conclusion, I think I've given you a sense of China's growth, not just in China itself, but assisting other countries to grow their economies. And I think that the pathway to a future of economic growth, uplifting people out of poverty, is really enormous, and we should welcome this development, and I'm sure everyone here does. Any questions at all? That's...
The question was...
Yeah. Oh, all right, the question was, when will we see a nuclear power plant in Australia? Well, the answer is we have to make it happen. And I'm sure most of the people here would welcome that. I know there's a bit of concern about nuclear power. You know, people concerned about waste and so forth. You can reprocess the waste, and I've written whole articles on that issue. But whether people like it or don't, China's growing at an enormous rate, and nuclear power is the only way for them to grow. They can't keep burning coal at that level. I mean, coal's fine with the right technologies of emissions control, but nuclear power has so much more energy flux density, which is necessary to provide cheaper power for the long term. And then, as we've heard previously, the fusion economy will expand that by manifolds again.
Questions? You'll have to yell out and we'll repeat them.
Jeremy, are any of those nuclear power plants using thorium as a fuel that you know of?
Yes. Are any power plants using thorium, those ones in China? Yes, China does, and I just haven't had time to go through every specific program, but China does have a thorium reactor project. Generally speaking, most of the reactors are the standard pressure water reactors, but China definitely does have a thorium project, and there's enough thorium in China to keep them going for thousands of years or tens of thousands of years. Yeah. And thorium certainly is very promising, although fusion is the pathway that we must go down. But currently, just the same with rail technology, China's sticking with the steel on steel just because it's known and it's easy and they can do it. But in future, I'm sure they'll go to Maglev, just the same as with nuclear power. Currently, they're sticking with the known technologies, but in future, they're working towards fusion. Certainly their intention with their space technology, and I haven't even covered space today, but with their intention for helium-3, they'll go down that path too.
Just one quick one, Richard.
Liquid salt reactors, yes. 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 They are any liquid salt reactors? Well, typically they use the thorium technology with the liquid salt reactors, and well, we could and we should. China's working on these. They're working on a number of different types of reactors, and no doubt they will pursue that. I think with those enormous numbers of reactors under construction and plan, anything's possible.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy.